Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women. Inside the heart of the Bayou's only female prison, fire. The scream in the Bayou fog. A thick morning fog hangs over the yard of the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women, the state's only prison for women. Everything is quiet, almost too quiet. A panicked scream cuts through the fog. Off camera, officers rush toward the sound. Inmates freeze. A metal food tray crashes to the ground. For a moment, no one knows what happened or who is in danger. A young inmate, shaking, points toward the misty walkway that leads to the education block. She just vanished. I swear, she was right in front of me. The camera follows the officers disappearing into the fog. Radios crackle. Shouts echo. Something is wrong. Very wrong. And as the fog begins to clear, it reveals an empty path, a dropped notebook, and a shoe lying on its side. The prison goes into lockdown. What happened in those few seconds? How does an inmate disappear inside the Bayou's most heavily controlled women's prison? Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women, inside the heart of the Bayou's only female prison. The prison in the swamp. The camera opens with a sweeping aerial shot of St. Gabriel, Louisiana, a place surrounded by swamps, thick trees, and slow-moving muddy water. In the middle of it sits a prison that looks calm from above, but inside, life is anything but calm. This is the LCIW, the only state-run women's prison in all of Louisiana. It holds women from every background, young, old, mothers, grandmothers, women who made mistakes, women struggling with trauma, and women trying to rebuild their lives. The narration slows, becoming calm and clear. LCIW houses around 1,000 women at full capacity. For many of them, this is the first time they've ever been away from their children. And for all of them, this place becomes its own world. Tough, complicated, and filled with stories the outside world rarely sees. Inside the dorms, the camera shows bunk beds packed close together. Personal photos taped to walls. Small fans buzzing loudly. Inmates waking up for their daily routine. Some mornings start with laughter. Others start with tension. But every morning begins with the same loud call. Count time. Women step quietly to their spots. Officers walk down each row. Life here runs on numbers, schedules, and rules. But behind the routine is something deeper. The emotional weight of being separated from the outside world. We hear the soft voice of a mother saying, "I haven't hugged my daughter in 4 years. I pray she still remembers my voice." This is the reality inside LCIW, hard, human, and unforgettable. And it's only the beginning. The vanishing inmate. The fog has lifted now, but the tension remains heavy in the air. Officers move through every hallway, searching rooms, storage closets, stairwells, any space big enough for someone to hide. Inmates whisper among themselves, unsure if this is a misunderstanding or something far more frightening. The narrator's voice lowers. Escapes from LCIW are extremely rare. The facility is built deep in the bayou, surrounded by wetlands, wildlife, and miles of difficult terrain. If someone tried to run, nature would catch them before law enforcement did. But this isn't an escape. The missing inmate's notebook lies open on the ground, pages smeared with damp fog. Her shoes are still there. Her ID badge is clipped to the gravel. Nothing suggests she planned to run. The officers review camera footage from just minutes earlier. The missing woman walking with a friend, turning a corner. And then, nothing. The camera angle ends. No next shot. No sight of where she walked. As one officer explains, this prison is old. Some angles don't have full coverage. She slipped right into a blind spot. Inside the dorms, rumors grow. She passed out. She hid somewhere. Something happened and they don't want to say. The truth is simpler and more human. After 40 minutes, search teams find her sitting behind a maintenance shed, knees pulled to her chest, quietly crying. She wasn't trying to escape. She wasn't running. She was overwhelmed. Later she tells staff, "I tried to walk it off. I didn't want anyone to see me cry." The lockdown ends. Officers escort her gently toward the infirmary for an evaluation. Her friend hugs her tightly before she goes. The narrator speaks softly. In a place like LCIW, moments of fear spread fast. One person's struggle becomes everyone's worry. That's how close life is inside a women's prison. The incident is logged. The day moves forward, and the camera transitions into the deeper world of life inside Louisiana's only female prison. Daily life in the Bayou's women's prison. The sun rises higher over the facility. The fog is gone, replaced by thick Louisiana humidity that settles on everything: walls, uniforms, and faces. Inside the dorms, the day begins again. Breakfast trays slide through the line. Grits, eggs, sometimes fruit, always something hot to start the day. Women move to their assigned jobs. Some sweep and mop long hallways. Some work in the kitchen, stacking trays and stirring giant pots. Others head outside to tend to vegetable gardens where tomatoes and peppers grow under the hot sun. Each job earns a few cents an hour, but inside prison, that money matters. As one inmate says, $1 in here feels like 100 out there. The camera follows 3 women walking to class. One is studying for a GED. One is learning basic computer skills. One hopes to join a re-entry program so she can work when released. The narrator explains, LCIW has one of the most active education programs in the state. Many women come here with broken schooling, broken families, and broken confidence. For them, learning again feels like taking back power. But even with opportunities, tension is never far. Inmates live close. Very close. Bunks are tight. Privacy is almost non-existent. You hear laughter one moment, and arguments the next. A woman folds her laundry and sighs. You can't walk away in here. You can't take a break. Every problem follows you. Despite everything, the limits, the pressure, the distance from home, many women find ways to stay hopeful. Handmade birthday cards. Braided hair. Bible study circles. Small groups singing quietly in the evening. Moments of peace in a place that tests everyone, every day. The camera pans upward again, showing the prison surrounded by towering green trees and muddy bayou water. This is life inside LCIW. Emotional. Human. A world built on routine, but shaped by the women who survive it. Mothers behind the fence. The scene opens inside a small visitation area. Plastic chairs. Painted cinderblock walls. A few posters with bright colors meant to soften the room, but nothing can soften the emotional weight that hangs in the air. Today is Family Visitation Day, and for many women here, this is the most important and the most painful part of their week. As mothers wait at the tables, some fidget with their hands, some straighten their uniforms again and again, and some sit perfectly still like they're trying to hold their heart together. The narrator explains, over 60% of women in LCIW are mothers. Many haven't seen their children in months, some in years. Distance, travel costs, and emotional strain all make visits difficult. A door opens. Children walk in with guardians, some shy, some excited, some confused. The room breaks into smiles, tears, and tight embraces. One mother lifts her toddler, who touches her face gently as if trying to remember every detail. Another young boy asks his mother quietly, "When are you coming home?" Her eyes drop. She cannot answer. But she holds his hand as if letting go would break her completely. In a corner, a teenage girl hugs her mother with stiff arms. She sits down without talking. Years of hurt have built a wall between them, one that both want to break, but neither knows how. The narrator's voice settles calmly. For many children, their mother's incarceration becomes part of their childhood. And for the women inside, guilt becomes part of their sentence. Some visits end with hope. Others end with silence. But all end the same way. A loud officer's announcement. Tears. A final hug. A child looking back one more time before walking away. The mothers wave until the very last second, until the door closes. Then the room goes quiet again. The women return to their dorms, some smiling through their sadness, others wiping tears silently. Inside a prison, motherhood never fades. It just hurts in ways the outside world will never fully understand. The bayou's unforgiving heat. The scene shifts outside. The sky is blazing, the kind of Louisiana heat that feels heavy, sticky, and endless. The narrator sets the stage. LCIW is known not just for its isolation, but for its climate. Summers here often feel like walking into a hot wall. And inside concrete dorms, that heat becomes a daily battle. Women fan themselves with folded papers. Others sit near small metal fans that buzz loudly but barely cool anything. A correctional officer wipes sweat from his forehead and says, "People don't realize how hot it gets in these buildings. We do what we can, but the heat is real." Inside the dorms, the air feels thick. Humidity clings to everything. Mattresses, clothes, metal bunks, floor. Inmates drink water constantly. Those working outside in field crews take shade breaks whenever allowed. One inmate remarks while wiping sweat from her neck, "This heat doesn't just make you tired. It makes you angry, emotional, and stressed. Everybody feels it." During peak summer days, tempers rise faster. Arguments break out more often. Officers stay alert, knowing heat can change the whole mood of a unit. Medical staff walk the hallways checking for signs of dehydration or exhaustion. The heat is not just unpleasant, it can be dangerous. But even in the middle of all this, women still go through their routines. They study, they work, they line up for meals, they make it through the day. The narrator concludes, "The bayou's heat tests everyone inside LCW. But for many women here, surviving the heat becomes one more thing they learn to endure." The camera pans out across the sprawling facility baking beneath the sun, surrounded by endless green swamps. Nightfall in the women's prison. As the sun drops behind the thick Louisiana trees, the entire prison seems to change character. The noise of the day fades. The heat softens. And the shadows lengthen across the yard. Night inside LCW is not peaceful. It's tense, quiet, and full of unspoken thoughts. The narrator begins slowly. When the lights dim inside Louisiana's only women's prison, the world outside keeps moving, but inside, time feels different. Night is when the mind becomes loud. The camera sweeps through the dorms. Women settle into their bunks. Some write letters under tiny reading lights. Some pray quietly. Some stare at the ceiling, thinking about the free world. Some whisper with bunkmates about their families, their hopes, their fears. A correctional officer walks down the hallway, keys jingling. He checks each room with a small flashlight. Count after count keeps the prison running through the night. One woman whispers to her bunkmate, "Night is the worst. That's when my mistakes feel the loudest." Another woman, older, sits on her bunk folding a blanket with slow, careful hands. She says, "Daytime, you can stay busy. Nighttime forces you to sit with yourself." Outside, crickets and frogs from the bayou echo into the facility, sounds that remind many women just how far they are from home, from their own beds, from the lives they used to have. In the infirmary, a nurse checks on inmates who can't sleep. Anxiety is common. Depression is common. The weight of separation is heavy. One inmate, staring out a barred window, murmurs, "I dream of driving a car again. Just driving. Nothing fancy. Just the freedom to turn left or right when I want." Lights out comes. The prison gets darker. But sleep does not come easily for everyone. Night at LCW is not silent. It's a mix of soft crying, quiet conversations, distant footsteps, and the hum of old building ventilation. The narrator concludes, "In a place full of structure and rules, nighttime is when emotions escape. When memories return. When survival shifts from physical to emotional. And for many women here, that is the hardest part." The screen fades into moonlight reflecting on the razor wire. LCW sleeps, but not peacefully. The sisterhood of survival. Morning returns. The fog lifts again. A new day begins. Inside the dorms, women gather in small groups, braiding hair, sharing stories, helping each other with letters, studying together before class. Life here is not just hardship. It is also connection. The narrator explains warmly. Women's prisons often grow something unique, sisterhood. Not because everything is easy, But because everything is hard, they lean on each other to survive. Two women sit side by side on their bunks, one teaching the other how to read a chapter in a workbook. Another pair laughs softly about a memory from their childhoods, different lives, different worlds, but the same feeling of wanting someone to talk to. Some friendships inside prison become lifelong anchors. A woman with a calm voice says, "In here we help each other. We lift each other up. Because if one person falls, the whole dorm feels it." These friendships are not about breaking rules or forming dangerous alliances. They are about survival, comfort, and humanity. Women here mourn together, celebrate small wins together, and navigate emotional storms together. The narrator adds, LCIW is not just a place of punishment. For many women, it becomes a place of transformation, a place where they rediscover the pieces of themselves they thought were lost. A group gathers around a table to make handmade birthday cards for a fellow inmate. Another group prays together before heading to work assignments. Some sit in silence, just appreciating the company of someone who understands. Even on hard days, the sisterhood inside LCIW keeps people steady. It gives hope when things feel hopeless. It provides comfort when the outside world feels distant. The camera shows a woman smiling as she says, "In here, we aren't just inmates. We're each other's family." The scene fades, leaving behind warmth and understanding. The struggle for mental health. The morning begins with a long line forming outside the health services building. Some women are here for medication, others for counseling, and some simply because they feel overwhelmed and need someone to talk to. The camera moves slowly through the hallway, showing women sitting on plastic chairs, some calm, some anxious, some fighting back tears. The narrator sets the tone gently. Incarceration hits mental health differently for women. Many arrive here carrying past trauma, stress from motherhood, and the emotional weight of separation. LCIW works to support them, but the struggle is real and it's daily. A counselor opens the door and calls the next person. Inside her office, the walls are simple but welcoming. A small plant sits on the desk. Inspirational quotes hang on the wall, faded but still comforting. A woman sits across from the counselor. She fidgets with her hands. "Some days I feel strong," she says quietly. "Other days, I feel like I'm disappearing." The counselor nods, listening with patience. Mental health programs at LCIW include one-on-one counseling, group therapy sessions, trauma recovery workshops, re-entry preparation, parenting classes for emotional coping. But the demand is heavy. Many women struggle with anxiety, depression, past abuse, guilt, fear of release, fear of the unknown. In a group therapy session, a woman with a soft voice says, "I didn't know how much I needed help until I finally talked about it." Another adds, "We don't get judged here. We help each other heal." These sessions are not dramatic or sensational, they're human. Women share their stories, their regrets, their hopes. They laugh sometimes. They cry sometimes. They learn that healing doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. The narrator speaks calmly. For many women at LCIW, emotional recovery becomes as important as daily routines. Every conversation, every session, every tear becomes part of the journey toward becoming whole again. As therapy ends, the women walk out quietly. Some look lighter. Some look thoughtful. Some hug each other before returning to their dorms. But one thing is clear. Inside this prison, mental health is not just a service. It is survival. The jobs that keep the prison running. The scene opens with the clatter of dishes in the kitchen. Steam rises from large pots. Inmates wearing white aprons work together to prepare hundreds of meals. One woman stirs a pot bigger than she is. Another stacks trays quickly and skillfully. A third washes vegetables at a long sink. The narrator explains. Jobs inside LCIW do more than fill the day. They teach skills, provide routine, and help women feel a sense of purpose. From dawn until late afternoon, the prison operates like a small city, powered almost entirely by inmate labor. Kitchen crew prepares breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the whole facility. Laundry crew washes thousands of uniforms, sheets, and towels each week. Janitorial staff keeps hallways clean, floors shining, and dorms organized. Garden and agriculture teams grow vegetables used in meals and learn basic agricultural skills. Maintenance assistants help fix small repairs under staff supervision. One inmate working in the garden wipes sweat from her face and says, "This job gives me peace. When I see something grow, I feel like I'm growing too." Another, sorting laundry, adds, "It's not glamorous, but it gives me structure. It keeps me focused." These jobs don't pay much, often just cents per hour, but the value goes beyond money. Responsibility, purpose, skills for re-entry, a reason to wake up each morning. The narrator continues. For many women, work helps rebuild confidence they lost long before they came here. It reminds them that they still have something to give. The camera pans across different work crews, women focused, determined, trying their best despite the circumstances. Inside LCIW, jobs aren't just tasks. They're stepping stones. They're pieces of a future waiting outside the fence. The heart of the Bayou's women. The camera rises slowly above the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women, lifting past the razor wire, past the watchtowers, past the trees that surround the prison like a deep green wall. The sun is setting across the bayou, turning the sky orange and gold. A warm glow touches every roof, every walkway, every dorm. The narrator speaks softly but powerfully. Inside these walls, life is complicated, emotional, human. LCIW is more than a prison, it is a world shaped by struggle, survival, sisterhood, and hope. We revisit the moments we've seen. The fog-covered yard and the panic of a missing inmate. Mothers holding their children tightly, wishing time would slow down. Women working under the heat of the bayou sun, determined to keep moving forward. Nighttime whispers of fear, regret, and dreams of freedom. The strength found in friendships that feel more like family. Counseling sessions where past wounds slowly begin to heal. Work crews building routines that give purpose and dignity. Each moment blends together, like pieces of a story that the world outside rarely hears. The narrator continues. The women here are not defined by their sentences. They are defined by their resilience. By the way they wake up each day and try again. By the way they learn, rebuild, and rise, even in the heart of the bayou's toughest place. A slow montage shows women laughing during yard time, studying in classrooms, tending gardens, sharing quiet moments of support, and staring out windows toward the world beyond the fence. The camera lands on one woman standing near the yard gate, watching birds fly overhead. She isn't smiling, but she isn't hopeless either. She simply breathes, deeply, like someone preparing for whatever tomorrow brings. The narrator concludes. LCW holds stories of pain and hope, loss and healing, fear and courage. But above all, it holds women, real women, who fight every day to remember who they were and who they can still become. And in a place surrounded by the bayou's fog and silence, their voices remain strong. Their stories matter. Their futures are still being written. Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women. A story of survival, sisterhood, and strength.